Oh gosh. Is it recording?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well, don't interview or
Yeah, don't
get
say
into
during
my
the
interview. I'm recording here.
Exactly.
Any rate, let's see.
Everywhere we've been, I've added my own aesthetic kind of style to every like portrait, or like if there's certain models that stand out and I feel like they work for my kind of body of work, then I kind of choose and like ask those models, because then I feel like it creates my own style through like a road trip, and I feel like everyone has their own style through a road trip, and it's interesting to see like everyone's different points of views when we're on these trips, and the kind of people we're drawn to and the kind of people we talk to. I've talked to Aaron Sequoia, which was a tourist in Trinidad, and he had so many tattoos and like cool braids, and he had a cool dog named Ryder. And I took pictures of him with his beer, but he said that beer to him is a sacred time, so he preferred the portraits of just himself with the tattoos, which I respected, and I posted those on my Instagram. And also, I'm sure you've already heard of Miss Raquel, beautiful, full lips, Escalade baddie.
I like it. I think it's a lot different than the one over the summer, and it definitely feels a lot more like less rural and more just inner city. And so far today, I'm kind of liking the weather. Yesterday was a lot of just sitting in the car, praying till we get to Vacaville, and now today it's a lot of being outside and taking photos. Probably either taking photos here in this town, can't remember the name, Salcedo, or probably those Fruit of the Looms this morning. Those are pretty good.
Those are my favorite too.
Yeah. I mean, Jason's snoring was, a lovely insight into the world of what I'll have to experience for the next 5 days.
Honestly, I was feeling really anxious because I get really just weary during big trips like this, but now that we are on day 2 and kind of settled and getting into the motion of things, I'm feeling really confident and excited to see San Francisco. That was my first time actually holding one of those things. I think it was really fun. It kind of loosened up the experience of photography, I think, a little bit. Took away like the more air quote professionalism and allowed me to just have a little more fun just taking pictures. My first memory of the first day, for some reason I was obsessed with that chevron sign. I loved the chevron sign for some reason at Olive Pit. I mean, also just the weather. I was really like amazed that we saw kind of every weather pattern, from like wind, snow, hail, sun, rain. And yeah, just being in the car with like a bunch of people that I didn't really expect to like be in a big group, but really glad that we're all here together.
I don't know, because I have never been to San Francisco, so going to San Francisco was definitely a check off the bucket list. But I can't say one experience so far, but like I can say as a whole, I have not laughed harder on this trip, or I've laughed harder on this trip than
You have not laughed
I have laughed harder on this trip than I have in the past many months. So that is a great experience as a whole.
All right.
And wait, one more. Is it still going?
Yeah.
And I've been loving the experience of going outside and taking portraits of people, because I've been in the studio for 10 weeks and meeting cool strangers such as Raquel, my future sugar mama. Raquel is this woman who pulled up in a Escalade at the gas station in Trinidad, and she had huge lips and a great nose job and looked like Chloe Cherry, so we went up to her and photographed her, and she pulled out a blunt, and we started taking photos of her smoking the blunt, and she was awesome, and asked if I was a lesbian and said, "I'm a Leo and a Catholic." Stay slay.
worst is also the best for me because we went hiking. It was supposed to be a 10-minute hike up to the top. I don't even know where we were. But I wore my cowboy boots that day, and we hiked. Someone said it was only 10 minutes, but it was a lot longer than that, and it got really muddy, and so we off-roaded a little bit off the trail, and I ended up ripping my cowboy boot, and it hurt really bad, but when we got to the top, I sunbathed on the top of the mountain, fully clothed, obviously. I don't know if that counts as sunbathing. But it was really nice and worth my ripped cowboy boot. The end.
My favorite experiences on the trip were probably like traveling with a whole bunch of people that I didn't quite know previously, and that at the end of the trip that we're all a lot closer now. I liked learning more about portrait photography because I had never done that before, and it was very interesting to have to go up to strangers and take their photos and get to know them. Another thing I really liked about the trip was traveling to all these pretty places that I didn't know were here until then. Well, talking to strangers were always stressful. It's a little overwhelming when strangers kind of like tell you something you like didn't really need to know about them, but were like kind of dramatic. So yeah, I had to be like, oh, that's cool, or like, oh, I'm sorry.
I think it's been all the different towns. I love seeing all these tiny towns and then all the different people in the tiny towns and the views. I love all the views. I'm fucking tired though. It was good and terrible at times, I think. We had some good places. I really want some fish and chips today on our last day, so that's what I'm gonna get.
I'm a natural light photographer, so my main gear is my camera. I do have a small reflector, although it's only been semi-effective. As far as adapting, I've avoided rainy situations. Hood, is that what you call this? The hood is very effective for bright sun. Rain can sometimes be a nice effect, so as long as your camera's sheltered, you're good. As far as gear goes, I brought my camera, 2 lenses, and that's about it. I technically bought a backup body, but I haven't used it. Favorite memory? I'd have to say probably sitting in the park near MoMA and talking to Russell. He was a gentleman I photographed who about 8 years ago just kind of said, I'm done, I don't want to do it no more, and he sold everything, moved to San Francisco, and I don't know if he's homeless or not, but I suspect he is. And he was just the sweetest little man. I think that was probably, it was one of those little golden nuggets.
I have multiple interesting interactions. My coolest interaction was with 3 skaters. I just walked up and there was another random person who kind of introduced me to them, as like take photos of them because he saw I had a camera. But then we just vibed, and I was like, hey, can you bomb a hill for me? And he's like, oh yeah, if you spot, I'll bomb the full thing. And I was like, okay, I'm down for that. And they just felt the vibe that I'm a skater too. And then later when I actually went by with my skateboard, they got really excited. So I think that was like the coolest interaction. But there were some other, maybe not as cool, but more humble, more wholesome interactions. This one lady in Crescent City at a thrift store, she was a sweetheart. We bonded immediately. We talked. It was amazing.
This road trip has been so amazing, and I love everyone, and I hope I'll remember this for the rest of my life. Love you guys. Peace and love, Aaron.